Welcome to Let's Get Moody this week. If this is your first time here, welcome. Let's Get Moody is a color and mood board inspiration challenge that I put out weekly to get you painting. If you want to get the mood boards straight to your inbox, you can click the link in the description and get started. I do these challenges in 10 minutes. I set a timer for 10 minutes just to keep my brain from thinking too much and to get a good base started. It can be a finished piece, it can be the start of a piece, it's up to you. You can use a sketchbook. I'm using 5x7 Fabriano watercolor paper. Today's prompt is called Vintage Spring. There's a little dusty pinks and a little like an olivey color, some navy, and so I'm going to be using watercolor and a little bit of acrylic, and I'm just going to make an abstract piece today. All right, so let's get started. I'm gonna start by making the sage green. Sage is a little bit of a tricky green to create. It's easy to make olive colors and minty colors, but sage is kind of in the middle there, so it's a little tricky. This is pretty close. I'm using watercolor, but I have to be careful not to make it too wet because we only have 10 minutes. So as I'm doing this, I'm just trying to decide, do I want to keep this painting mostly light or do I want to go dark? And I think I am going with mostly light. So I'm getting a bunch of this sage out there. And then I'm going to add some of my indigo. Indigo is one of my favorite watercolor colors because it's so dark and beautiful. Oh, look at that blending happening. One of my favorite things about watercolor. So beautiful. You can also start to spread your color out this way. You get more water and then pull your color down. I love to add splatters. My 8-year-old adds splatter to all of his paintings because he sees me do it. It's hilarious. All right, so I'm gonna keep the painting mostly blue and green. And then add hints of the other colors. This is an interesting mark making tool. It is Art Philosophy oil pastels, but they are water soluble. So you can actually like make marks with them and leave it that color, or you can add water onto a brush and brush it out and it moves around like watercolor. So it's fun to play with. I'm gonna keep it dry because the color is closer to what I want. Just play around with making different marks here if you're doing an abstract. There's that little bit of rusty reddish brown going on in the palette. And there's also a hint of pink. So let's see if I can get the pink in here. I want it to be pretty light. It's kind of a dusky pink. It's a little too pink, but it's close enough. So you can see you can paint with watercolor and acrylic together. You don't have to pick one or the other. I go back and forth a lot. I love watercolor, I also love acrylic, and it just depends on what I'm in the mood for. Okay, I think we need a little more blue. So I'm gonna make a navy with my acrylic paint. I'm just using cerulean blue and some black. Get a really pretty navy color. Don't be afraid to make random marks to see what it looks like. And then don't be afraid too to use any mark making tools to add shapes or colors. So I think it might be fun to add some line here. You can just use plain pencil and add little scribbles in. If you do it through the wet paint, you can get some cool effects. And so now it's pretty wet and it's a little crazy. There's a lot going on, so we just need to tone it back some. I'm going to use a white with just a little tiny bit of that reddish color. One thing you need to remember is that acrylic dries darker than what you put on. So you may think this is pretty light, but then once it dries, it's not that light at all. All right, so this is a little crazy, but a lot of things are still wet, so it's hard to tone it down. So this is, like I remember I told you at the beginning that you may need to work after the 10 minutes. And this is one of those instances where that will have to happen because I can't keep layering on top if it's wet. I'm doing the best I can, but like right through here. You can add marks. And then if you add marks up there, sometimes you want to add some in a different place just to balance it out. Some of these dark places that are dry, I would like to add dots in them before time is up. I have 30 seconds. Okay, so that's about all I can do. My time is up. And this is kind of a little busy. I could work on this later and cut back some of the busy places and make more emphasis on the other places that I want emphasis on. But it's a great start and it was fun to make, and that's the point, right? So I hope that you join me for Let's Get Moody every week. If you want the inspiration straight to your inbox, sign up in the description below. There's a link that you can click to take you right to the sign up. I'll see you next week.